Welcome to News Bits. Today we're going to cover an interesting story, fun little journey about a yoga teacher, Jessamine Stanley, who believes white supremacy has polluted yoga, and she needs to talk about it. So cultural appropriation in yoga is rampant because we are still living in the legacy of colonization, she says, as a headline quote. As we can tell, she's pretty fat. Doesn't look like the best yoga teacher. But let's see what she has to say. She might have a lot of good insights on yoga. So in her book Yogi, My Yoga of Self-Acceptance, the yoga instructor and body activist shares reflective personal essays that touch upon everything from racism to the cultural appropriation of American yoga, from consumerism to cannabis. So she just writes a whole bunch of shit, a lot of feels, and puts it between two covers, and writes a nice little book for us. So let's see what some of the takeaways are. So she realized that yoga is a lot more than just postures. Okay, the postures get more complicated, and not because you're practicing harder gymnastics or physical postures, but because you're practicing emotional and mental and really spiritual postures. And as you can tell, she's been doing yoga, she's an instructor, she's practiced emotional, mental, and spiritual postures so much she's hit peak enlightenment. You can tell that she puts a lot of time into developing her worldview with conclusions like this. So in fact, she says yoga is not supposed to feel good. You're like, this is hard. Everybody else seems to know what they're doing. I am not good enough. I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe my body is supposed to look different. Yours probably is. Maybe my life is supposed to be different. All these feelings start to come up. That's what the postures are leading you towards, is to have that experience. Stanley has begun nurturing his self-awareness. Doing it for 10 years, breaking barriers in the yoga world, tackling topics like fat shaming, her black queer identity, and unattainable beauty standards. The book explores the existence of white supremacy and cultural appropriation in American yoga. I would venture to say that everything in our collective society is rooted in white supremacy. I am sure there are many people who would disagree with that. I would. And honestly, I don't care, because I believe that and I know it's the case. Said just like my 12-year-old cousin. I don't care because I believe that and I know it's the case. Case closed. I think that we see, she continues, I think that we see it show up in a lot of different ways. It's the same way it's everywhere. It's the same way it's everywhere else, and it's polluted everything else. It's polluted yoga. Alright, so now she's saying whites have polluted things beyond yoga. Well, I think she's living in America, so there's irony just in that situation right there. It's very much a part of how yoga has spread in America. The popularity of yoga really came down to wealthy white people wanting to learn and explore in a very specific way, and that's why yoga has been so white for so long in America. Alright, well, America's 60% white, so you'd expect that yoga would be at least 60% white in America, if you're breaking it into proportions. Comes down to wealthy white people wanting to learn. So now, regardless of your social economic status, actually depending on your social economic status, you're allowed to want to learn or not. I don't know. Her logic is so ridden with ignorance. All right, detailing the cultural appropriation in yoga. Stanley says it's rampant because we are living in a legacy of colonization. All right, let's see right here. Yoga as a concept exists in so many cultures. It's literally the basis of so many different things. The idea of acceptance and yoking together of light in the dark. So, Whitey over here is culturally appropriating yoga. Meanwhile, yoga as a concept exists in so many cultures. So, I think she means so many cultures except for white. I don't know. I don't know how she bridges or reconciles these two statements, but she's a walking paradox or talking paradox. I think that when you bring up culture appropriation yoga, everyone's butthole clenches because everybody's like, oh shit, I might be guilty of this. Culture appropriation yoga, so many cultures have the yoga as a concept. I don't understand. Oh, and if you do understand, please put it in the comments, let me know what I'm missing. So Stanley talks about coming in terms with her truth and internalized racism in the essay White Guilt. I see a lot of people point fingers at other people, and I definitely started writing that essay because I had a bone to pick with every person that I have met in the yoga world that I felt was being racist. You don't have to be racist. As long as Stanley determines or she feels that you're racist. Case closed. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this story as much as me. This is a reality of what we're living in. I can't imagine a future for white children when things like this are happening on a daily basis. All right, stay safe and have a good weekend.